Good morning, everyone. I want to start by telling you about a factory I visited last year. It had state-of-the-art equipment, millions invested in AI inspection, digital twins, and IoT sensors on every single line. And yet they were running at barely 40% of the system's potential. The machines were absolutely brilliant, but the organization was simply not ready. I realized then that the most expensive machine in that factory wasn't on the shop floor. It was the leadership team's mindset. Globally, manufacturers are spending over $400 billion a year on smart technology, and 70% of those investments, $280 billion, will fail to meet their objectives. Today we are going to talk about why. Before we go further, I want to ask the room a couple of questions. Please raise your hand if you have invested millions in a new digital tool, AI or IoT, only to see it running at a fraction of its potential. Keep them up. Now, how many of you feel like you are stuck in what McKinsey calls pilot purgatory, running endless proof of concepts that never seem to roll out across the whole enterprise? Look around. You are not alone. IDC research shows that for every 33 AI pilots launched, only 4 make it to production. That is an 88% failure rate. In fact, 84% of companies are stuck in pilot mode for over a year. The question is why? Let's look at the sheer scale of the bet we are making. Global smart manufacturing spending reached between $394 and $411 billion this year, and it is projected to exceed $1 trillion by 2033. Manufacturing is actually the single largest industry vertical for digital transformation, consuming nearly 30% of global spend. In ASEAN alone, the market hit $102 billion, and here in Malaysia, it is a $10.7 billion market growing at over 18% annually. As an industry, we are putting our chips on the table. These are not small bets, but despite all this spending, the failure epidemic is staggering. McKinsey reports that 70% of digital transformations fail to meet their objectives. Bain puts that number even higher, at 88%. The global cost of these failed efforts is an estimated $2.3 trillion every single year. That is not a rounding error. That is larger than the GDP of most countries. In AI specifically, BCG found that 74% of companies have yet to show tangible value from their investments. So we have to ask ourselves, is the technology broken? The answer is no. BCG studied CXOs across 59 countries and found that the top tier, the ones actually winning with AI, don't necessarily spend more on technology, they spend differently. We know that 60 to 70% of failed transformations break down due to human factors, resistance to change, poor leadership, and lack of collaboration. Yet, the average company allocates only about 10% of their budget to change management. The leaders, however, use BCG's 702-010 rule. 70% of resources go to people and processes, 20% to technology, and only 10% to the AI algorithms. Most of us have this formula exactly backwards. When you invest in your culture, your transformation is over 5 times more likely to succeed. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. I worked with 2 manufacturers. Let's call them Factory A and Factory B. They both bought the same AI-driven inspection systems with the same budget. In Factory A, the IT department led it. Operators were told, not involved, and middle managers saw it as a threat. 6 months later, the ROI was near zero. Classic pilot purgatory. In Factory B, the CEO personally sponsored the transformation. They built a cross-functional team, and frontline operators were trained and treated as partners. The results? In 6 months, they achieved a 209.4% ROI, 300% faster programming, and 99% accuracy across 300 connected machines. Same region, same tech. The difference? Leadership decided to transform the organization, not just install software. This isn't just happening with my clients. The World Economic Forum, alongside McKinsey, has identified 223 feet lighthouse factories worldwide that have successfully scaled Industry 4.0. And you don't have to look to Germany or Japan to see this in action. We have world-class examples right here in Penang. Agilent Technologies was named a WEF Lighthouse previous year, deploying AI to achieve a 40% productivity improvement and 48% faster delivery. Western Digital in Penang became Asia's very first sustainability lighthouse, driving a 41% energy reduction while growing at a 43% compound annual rate. These are not hypothetical success stories. They are our neighbors, proving that it can be done here. Enno de Boer, a senior partner at McKinsey who has studied the 223 global lighthouse factories inside and out. He says, empowering the front line and fostering inclusive digital cultures is at the heart of success for lighthouses. Investing in people is as crucial as investing in technology. It is the powerful combination of both that drives meaningful change. This means treating operators as partners, creating a psychologically safe environment where they use their experience to optimize new AI, rather than fearing it as a replacement. This approach perfectly aligns with BCG's 702-010 rule. Top AI performers dedicate 70% of their resources to people and processes, and only 20% to the technology itself. Unfortunately, most of us have this backwards. We eagerly sign massive hardware purchase orders, but hesitate to spend on cultural alignment and change management. But we must move faster. Under NIMP 2030, Malaysia aims for 3,000 smart factories. Yet, as of right now, only about 100 are on track. The reality is that 80% of Malaysian businesses remain resistant to smart manufacturing. Meanwhile, our neighbors are not waiting. Vietnam attracted over $38 billion in FDI last year and launched a massive semiconductor strategy. Thailand's Eastern Economic Corridor holds over $80 billion in active investments. ASEAN just saw a record $235 billion in FDI, surpassing China. We have a decades-ahead advantage in our semiconductor ecosystem, but if we do not fix our organizational readiness, that advantage is not permanent. So I will leave you with a challenge. Only 6% of organizations are true AI high performers. To join that 6%, you must make 3 leadership shifts. Shift 1. Move from buying AI to becoming AI ready. Stop asking what tech to buy, and start asking if your people are ready to partner with it. Shift 2. Move from delegating to owning. This is not an IT project. It is a CEO project. When the C-suite role models this change, success jumps from 30% to 80%. Shift 3. Move from pilot thinking to scale thinking. Stop running 8 pilots, hoping one survives. Attack your biggest bottleneck and scale it. Industry 4.0 has $3.7 trillion in value waiting to be claimed. The government has given us the incentives, the tools are built, and the technology is ready. But remember this, you cannot digitally transform an organization that is culturally analog. In the era of towards Industry 5.0, digitalization plus culture will be a success formula for digital transformation. So are you ready? Thank you.